सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय। So Bhagavan is giving reason after reason as to why Arjuna should fight the war. So yesterday we had seen some more reasons. So what was the reason? Arjuna, you are a national hero. There are millions of people who are following you. So therefore, you must perform action for the welfare and well-being of the society, of the mankind. Because if you make a mistake, there are millions of people who will do the same thing. So you have to be careful. And the nature of the people is such, they tend to follow what is easy for them, not what is good for them. The difficult ones they will leave, the easier ones they will follow. So if the hero is smoking cigarette and drinking alcohol, you will find millions doing the same thing. Because it is easy, there is no difficulty there. Lord Shiva drinking bhang. So people will say, even Lord Shiva used to take, so why not I? But Lord Shiva drank poison also. That they will never discuss. This is the nature of the people. They tend to do what is easy. So therefore Arjuna, there will be millions who will be doing the same thing which you do, especially the easier ones, especially with regard to compromising the higher principles of life. So you have to be extremely careful. Arjuna, not only you, look at me. As far as I am concerned, I am the Lord of the universe. There is nothing which I need. I have everything in full measure, but look at me. 24/7, I am performing action. Because if I don't perform action, there are so many people, the entire mankind will follow me. They will also do the same thing, and then the whole world will perish. But Arjuna, when you perform action, you have to be careful. A wise person should perform action in the society just like an ignorant person. How does the ignorant person perform action? He is always inspired by the name, fame, power, position. what will I get, is the motivating force for an ignorant person. As far as he is concerned, he works hard for material prosperity. That is his inspiring force. But as far as a wise person is concerned, what should be his inspiring force? Not the material prosperity, but the loka sangraham, for the welfare and well-being of the society. To guide people in the path of righteousness, that should be his goal. But when he is performing this action, now the intention is not clear. Everybody is performing action. A wise man is doing for the welfare of the society. An ignorant person is doing for his own selfish ends. So what is the special instruction given to the wise people? Na buddhi bedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam. Don't confuse them. Don't immediately bring this karma yoga philosophy. What is karma yoga philosophy? Perform action without expecting results. Now this will appear to be an absolutely impractical philosophy for an ignorant person. He will say, how can I perform action without a result? Because of result only I am performing action. Now suddenly you say, don't expect results. Then what will happen? Even the most active person, even the most workaholic person also will become inactive. So what are you doing? You are transforming a person from rajas to tamas. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to evolve the person, help him evolve from rajas to sattva. So instead of spiritual evolution, what is happening? Spiritual devolution happens. So while giving this philosophy of karma yoga, you have to be very careful. It should not be given to everyone. You do something for good, but something bad happens. So that danger is there. But then Bhagavan, please tell me, you said the wise people, you said the ignorant people. Who is wise in the society? Who are the jnanis, the vidwans you are mentioning? What is that knowledge which makes a person wise? What is that knowledge? So that knowledge is mentioned in verse number 27, 28, 29. Let us chant that. Prakruteh kriyamānāni gunaih karmāni sarvashah ahankāra vimūಢātmā kartāhamiti manyate tattvavittu mahābāho gunakarma vibhāgayoho gunaguneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate prakritir sammūಢāh sajjante gunakarmasu tāna kritsna vido mandān kritsna vinna vichālaye. Yes. So what is being said? Verse number 27. Prakritehe kriyamānāni gunaihi karmāni sarvashah. Karmāni sarvashah. Prakritehe gunaihi kriyamānāni. All actions are done by the gunas of Prakriti. Ahankara vimūಢātmā aham karta iti manyate. A person who is deluded by ahankara, such a person feels, I am the doer. Tattvavittu mahābāho gunakarma vibhāgayoho. But the person who knows, tattvavit, the knower of the truth. What does he know? Guna karma vibhāgayoho. He knows the distinction between guna and karma. What is his understanding? Guna guneshu vartante. The gunas interact with gunas. Iti matva, thus knowing, na sajjate. He doesn't get attached. This is the teaching. What did you understand? That's why the commentaries written by great Mahatmas like Bhagavan Shankaracharya is needed. If you directly read the translation of Bhagavad Gita, you will not understand anything. There are people who say you should read Bhagavad Gita. It's not that easy. You may read, fine. You may chant, fine. But if you have to understand, you need the guidance. We are indeed indebted to Bhagavan Shankaracharya, because of whom we are able to understand the great scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, like Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, etc. Right. So now, before coming to this, let us briefly see the fundamentals of Vedanta, because without that fundamental, we will not be able to explain these verses. So what is this fundamental of Vedanta? So first we will see one theory called identification theory. What is this identification theory? When entity A identifies with entity B, the properties of B appear to be the properties of A. This is called as identification theory. When entity A identifies with entity B, the properties of B appear to be the properties of A. So the best example to understand this theory is our film theater example. So all of us, we have experienced this. So we have watched movies in the film theater. So as you watch the movie, what happens? Slowly you get sucked into the movie. You get sucked into the happenings of the movie. And slowly the movie happenings start affecting you. Yes or no? Yes. So then there is a hero, there is a heroine, there is a villain, and so many things are happening, and slowly you forget the outer world. Now which world is real for you? Not the outer world. For you, the movie world is real. Movie time is real. Movie happening is real. You have forgotten everything. Now you are totally focused in the movie. Now slowly what happens? You get totally identified with the characters of the movie. Let us assume you have identified yourself with the hero. Now see the identification. So what happens when you get identified? Whatever happens to the hero starts happening to you. So hero is happy, now you are happy. Hero is miserable, you are miserable. Hero is anxious, you are anxious. And so many things are happening. The ups and downs of the movie become your ups and downs. Actually speaking, nothing is happening to you. What is happening? Where is happening? Everything is happening in the movie. But now a time comes when the ups and downs of the movie, the different emotional highs and lows of the movie become your emotional highs and lows. Isn't it? To such an extent, when that hero is miserable, crying because of some tragic event, no, you also start crying. Isn't it? Hero is crying and you are crying. Now what is your condition? You have entered into the theater as a master by paying money, etc., by choosing the seat, by choosing the row, lower or higher or whatever. You entered as a master. Now what is your condition inside the theater? Your condition is that of a slave. Why slave? Your own state of mind is not under your control. Who decides it? The movie happenings decide it. Isn't it? What is the mistake you have done because of which the master became a slave? The mistake is what is called as identification. You are identified with what? You are identified with someone who you are not. This is the mistake. So whatever happens there, happens here. So which is entity A? I am entity A. Which is entity B? That film character, the hero is entity B. So whenever entity A identifies with entity B, the properties of B appear to be properties of A. So what is the properties of B? That hero is crying and weeping. So now what is the property of A? I am also crying and weeping. As though. Isn't it? This is the mistake. Have you understood this example? If you have understood this, you have understood all Vedanta. In this real life also, why are you crying and weeping? Vedanta says there is absolutely no need for you to cry and weep. You are crying and weeping because of a mistake which you have done. So what is the mistake? In the real world also there are two entities. The entity A, which is called as consciousness. Entity B, which is called as matter. consciousness and matter. So different names are used in Vedanta. Sometimes consciousness is called Purusha, then matter is called Prakriti. Sometimes consciousness is called Brahman, then matter is called Maya. Sometimes consciousness is called Drashta or Drik, then matter is called Drishya. In the 13th chapter, consciousness is called Kshetrajna, and matter is called then Kshetra. Sometimes consciousness is called Atma, then matter is called Anatma. So different places, different terms are used, but there are only two terms. One is consciousness, the other is matter. Sometimes consciousness is called Chaitanya, then matter is called Jada. Various terms, but these are the only two things. Now, what is the definition of matter? Anything which is made of 5 elements is matter. What are the 5 elements? Pancha Mahabhutas: Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi. Space, air, fire, water, earth. Anything is matter. Anything made of these 5. So what are those? If you see the whole world, this world is made of 5 elements only. So the whole world is matter. Come one step inside. What about this body? The body is also nourished by food. Food is nothing but matter. So therefore, body is also matter. Come one step inside. What about the mind? The thoughts. So, those who have studied Tattvabodha, so for your information, Tattvabodha deals with the basics of Vedanta. There's a text called Tattvabodha. So those who have studied, they know it. What? The mind is also made of matter. So the world is matter, body is matter, mind is matter. There is one thing which is not matter, which is not made of Pancha Mahabhuta, and that is consciousness. And what is this consciousness? It is my real nature. I, the pure I, the witnessing consciousness in me, it is not made of matter at all. Then what is the nature of this consciousness? So we say the nature of this consciousness is Sat Chit Anand. Sat means existence. This consciousness has no non-existence. Meaning what? It is immortal. It has no death. It doesn't perish. Anything made of matter will perish, but this consciousness which is not made of matter, it is imperishable. Sat, Chit, it is of the nature of consciousness. Consciousness means what? That knowing principle in us, because of which we are able to know, because of which I am conscious, I am aware. Suppose if I ask you, are you aware? Are you conscious? What do you say? Yes. I am conscious of myself, I am conscious of my existence, I am conscious of the world. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, I am conscious of. That consciousness in you is imperishable. And what is the nature of that consciousness? It is Satchit Anand. Ananda means bliss, absolute. It is of the nature of infinite happiness, infinite peace. So when you find the nature of consciousness, you will find it is the nature of Bhagavan himself. What is this consciousness? It is none other than the Supreme Lord himself. Absolutely perfect from all sense of the term. Now, what does Vedanta say? Each and every one of us, we are actually consciousness. We are perfect. We are immortal. We are of the nature of bliss. There is nothing lacking in us. We are made in the very image of God. Perfection is our nature. Immortality is our nature. There is nothing lacking in us. But we have made a mistake. What is the mistake? Instead of identifying with consciousness, the perfect consciousness, where is my identification? My identification is with the body, the mind, the intellect. So instead of identifying with this infinite consciousness, my identification is with the finite body. So what will I experience when I identify with an imperfect finite body? I will no more be experiencing the perfection of consciousness. I will be experiencing the imperfection of body-mind. Now, every physical body is imperfect. Every mind is imperfect. Every body and every mind is limited. It is imperfect. It is perishable. So, therefore, since my identification is with the imperfect BMI, BMI means body, mind, intellect. Since my identification is with the imperfect BMI, so my experience also will be imperfection. Are you able to understand? So what is the mistake I have done? Remember the mistake of the film theater fellow. The mistake is identification. Now he is crying and weeping in the film theater because the hero is crying and weeping. So what is the solution? What should he do to stop crying in the theater? What should he do? There are people who pray, "Oh Lord, please save him. Poor fellow, he is miserable, he is suffering." A prayer is okay, but what is the solution? There is a solution which is in your hand. And what is the solution? Problem started because of identification. Solution is disidentification. Disidentification means what? Stop paying attention to the movie. Withdraw your attention from the movie and start paying attention to other things. Look around. Everybody is crying like you only. And when you see others are also crying, you feel relieved. Or take a mobile phone and then do play some video game. Suddenly you will find that all the sorrow is gone. What have you done? Identification was the cause of sorrow. So what should be the solution? Disidentification is the solution. So in the same way in Vedanta also what we say is consciousness is already perfect. Your nature is already that of perfection. You don't have to create perfection in you. You are already perfect. Tat Tvamasi. Aham Brahma Asmi. Already I am Brahman, the infinite. You don't have to do anything. What is it? Why are you crying? Your crying is because of your identification with the body. So therefore what should be the solution? Disidentification from the body is the solution. So this is all what we do in Vedanta. Disidentify from what you are not. Identify with what you are. Pay attention to the reality. Put in another words, try to find out who you are. So therefore that famous "Who am I?" meditation of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. Who am I? I am suffering because I don't know myself. My suffering is not because I don't know the world. My suffering is because I don't know who I am. I think I am this perishing body. But when I start inquiring my own true nature, I come to know I am not the body, I am the observer of the body. And what is the nature of this observer? He is Sat Chit Anand. His existence, consciousness, bliss. And what is this nature? Even when the body is undergoing all kinds of changes, the childhood, the teenager, the youth, the adult, the old age, bodies are constantly changing, but the observer of the body doesn't change. What is the nature of consciousness? It is just present, doing nothing, just observing, just witnessing. What is the role of this consciousness? It just lends sentiency to the inert body, mind, intellect. Body by itself has no life. Consciousness lends sentiency, lends life to the inert body-mind complex. So what is the benefit of having this knowledge? What is the benefit of having Vedantic knowledge? The benefit is even when you go through ups and downs in life, you are unaffected. Because you know, as far as you are concerned, nothing is happening. Yes, the body will have all those 6 modifications. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viprinamate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyate. This is the biography of all the body. First it exists in the womb of the mother. Then it is born from the womb. Then it grows. Then it matures. Then it decays. Then it dies. This is the biography of each and every physical body. But who are you? You are not this physical body. You are the observer of the physical body, which has nothing to do with the changes of the body. So when you come to know this great knowledge, what happens? All the fear of death vanishes completely. Because you know there is no death for you. Death is for whom? Death is for the physical body. And who am I? I am the observer of the body. I am the witnessing principle which has no change. So then what happens? There is only peace. This is the benefit of Vedantic knowledge. So no tragedies in the world can affect you, because you know these things, whatever is happening in the world, can never touch me. I am like the space. The fire cannot touch space. The earthquake or the tsunami cannot touch space. Space is unaffected. In the same way, this consciousness which is me is unaffected. Such a person who knows this great truth. What is the truth? That I am not the body, I am consciousness. Actions are happening at the body, but I am actionless consciousness. What is the job of consciousness? It just learns sentiency. It by itself doesn't do anything. In fact, in the presence of consciousness, the body performs action. In the presence of consciousness, eyes are seeing. In the presence of consciousness, ears are listening. In the presence of consciousness, thoughts are happening in the brain. In the presence of consciousness, legs and hands are functioning. They're all doing their respective property. What does consciousness do? It just is present as a witness. It doesn't do anything. Exactly like in the presence of electricity, each and every equipment performs its own action. What does the light do? It gives light. What does the fan do? It rotates. Each and every equipment performs their own action according to their nature. What does electricity do? It just gives energy. It just makes them as though sentient, alive by its presence. Right? So this is the knowledge of Vedanta. Actually, this chapter is not meant for this. These topics are dealt in greater detail in chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, etc. Here it is just mentioned to differentiate between who is a wise person and who is an ignorant person. Any person who doesn't have this knowledge, even though he may be a highly educated person as far as the worldly norms, he may be a PhD holder, many certificates of post-graduation he may be having, but still if he doesn't have this knowledge, according to spirituality, he is considered ignorant. So here when it is said Vidya, what you call Vidwan, so wise man is the one who knows this truth. What is the truth? It's a great secret. Majority of the people, they don't know this truth. What is the truth? I am not the body, I am the witnessing consciousness. So therefore, I am actionless consciousness. Where is the actions happening? Actions are happening at the body level, mind level, intellect level, but I don't do anything. I, the pure consciousness, don't do anything. So this is the greatest truth. And the person who has realized this truth is called a Mahatma, is called a Jnani, whatever the name you may give. So that is what is mentioned here. Now let us come to this. What is being said? See verse number 27. Karmani sarvashah prakritehe gunehe kriyamanani. Karmani sarvashah. All actions are done by whom? Prakritehe gunaihi. By the gunas of the Prakriti. All actions are done by the gunas of the Prakriti. Now what do you mean gunas of the Prakriti? Gunas means products. Product of the Prakriti. Prakriti means matter. All actions are done by the products of matter. So what are the products of matter? The body, the mind, the intellect. So what is being said? All actions are done by the body, the mind, the intellect. Ahankara vimudhatma aham karta iti manyate. But an ignorant person, what does he feel? He feels, I have done it. I am doing it. Did you get the point? I, the pure consciousness, the actionless consciousness, doesn't do anything. But the ignorant people feel, I am doing it. What is the name of the ignorant person? Ahankara vimudha atma is a name given. Very nice name. Applicable for all of us. Mr. Ahankara Vimudhatma. What is Ahankara Vimudhatma? The one who is Vimudha, deluded by Ahamkara. What is this Ahamkara? Aham means I. Kara means ness, N-E-S-S. The one who is deluded by I-ness is called Ahankara Vimudhatma. Means what? The one who thinks body to be I. Actually, body is not I. What is body? Body is something observed. And who am I? I am the observer. The observed thing has to be different from the observer. Body is something which is observed. I am the observer. But now I am considering the observed thing as the observer. Observed thing as though it has become me. Just like in the film theater. The observed thing is the hero. Now I am not watching the hero. I have become the hero. Therefore, when hero is crying, I am also crying, because we are one now. So then we can say there is a delusion. There is an identity crisis. Somebody else has become me. That's why that crying happens. Whatever happens there, happens here. So therefore, here, Ahankara Vimudhatma means what? The one who doesn't know himself. So what is Ahankara? Ahankara is nothing but, normally we call it ego. What is ego? The identification. When the consciousness identifies with the body, then the ego is born. When is the ego born? When consciousness identifies with the body. When does the ego die? When the consciousness disidentifies with the BMI, the body, mind, intellect. Actually, this ego is an illusion. Just like the crying person in the film theater is an illusion. In the film theater, you ask, who is crying? You ask this question, who is crying? The real person need not cry. Why he need not cry? Because the problems don't belong to him, the problems belong to the film character. So the real person need not cry. The unreal person cannot cry. Who is the unreal person? The filmy hero. He cannot cry. Why? He doesn't exist. It is just the play of shade. Light and shade. The unreal person cannot cry. The real person need not cry. Then who is crying? The real identified with the unreal. A combination as though has taken place. The real has as though combined with the unreal, and a third entity has come. Isn't it? The real identifying with the unreal is crying. So a third entity. Now this third entity is what is called as ego. Now tell me, is it possible that real can combine with unreal? Is it possible? It is impossible. How can real combine with unreal? Unreal doesn't exist. Real alone exists. Then how can combination happen? It is impossible. But this is what we see in the film theater. Isn't it? The real is crying for the problems of the unreal. Right? In the same way, consciousness is the only real thing. But when the consciousness identifies with the unreal BMI, what happens? A third entity is born, and this third entity is what is called as ego or ahankara. So all our sufferings in this world is only because of one thing. And what is that one thing? I don't know who I am. Bas. So if you want to put an end to all sorrows, what you have to do? Try to find out who you are. This is all what you need to do. This is the path of knowledge. And this is what is being said here. So, ahankara vimudhatma aham karta iti manyate. The person who doesn't know, he thinks I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am doing, I am the doer. So therefore I only want results. Remember, the moment ego is born, and when is ego born? The moment consciousness identifies with matter, ego is born. The moment ego is born, karma is born. Because actions of the body, you think it is my action, karma is born. The moment karma is born, karma phala is born. And the moment karma phala is born, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So what is the starting point of all calamities? The birth of the ego, the illusory ego which doesn't exist, which has come into existence only because of our ignorance about ourselves. So ego is born, karta is born, karma is born, karmaphala is born. Then again go on and on. You go on performing karma. Karma goes on giving karmaphala, and it goes on and on and on. When does it end? It never ends. Anadi Ananta. Is there any way to put an end? Yes, there is a way. What is the way? Know yourself. When you know yourself, what are you doing? The moment you come to know your consciousness, what happens to the ego? Ego is gone. Why? Ego was born because of identification. Now you disidentify from the BMI. You identify yourself with the consciousness. Now you come to know I am Satchidananda Swarupa. Ego is dead. The moment ego is dead, what happens to karma? Karma is dead. Because actions belong to BMI, it doesn't belong to you. You are actionless consciousness. Karma is gone. Karmaphala is gone. Everything is gone. And therefore, rebirth, redeath is also gone. Because birth is for whom? Birth is only for the ego. But now, through your knowledge, you have come to know that there is nothing called ego. There is only consciousness. You put an end to your birth-death cycle, which is called as moksha, liberation, nirvana, salvation, enlightenment, whatever name you call. So such a person is called a Jivan Mukta. Even while living, he is liberated. Right? This is the foundation of Vedanta. If you have not understood, don't worry. That is not the topic of Karma Yoga at all. It has been discussed because these verses are here. Now see verse number 28. Tattvavittu Mahabaho. Hey Mahabaho, oh mighty armed Arjuna, you really become mighty armed only when you have this knowledge. That's the meaning. Arjuna, just because you have muscle strength, just because you are a great archer, doesn't make you Mahabaho. A real Mahabaho is the one who has gained this knowledge. The real strength is this knowledge. So who is such a person? Tattvavit, the knower of Tattvam, truth. What is the truth he knows? Guna karma vibhagayoho. He knows the distinction between guna and karma. Guna means what? Products of Prakriti. What are the products of Prakriti? Body, mind, intellect. So these are Prakriti gunas. So Prakriti gunas are performing karma. So body, mind, intellect, they will keep on performing action. Nobody can stop. So guna karma vibhagayoho. So what is his understanding? What is the understanding of Mahatma? Guna guneshu vartante. This is understanding. The Prakriti gunas are interacting with the gunas of the world. The gunas interacting with gunas means what? The BMI is made of matter. The world is made of matter. Matter interacting with matter. Guna guneshu vartante. The body is interacting with the world. What is the nature of the body? Guna, Prakriti guna. What is the nature of the world? Prakriti guna. Means what? All made of 5 elements. Body, mind, intellect is made of 5 elements. The world is made of 5 elements. 5 elements interacting with 5 elements. Guna guneshu vartante. Iti matva, thus knowing. A wise man is the one who knows this. Iti matva, thus knowing. Na sajjate, he is not attached. He is totally detached. As far as he is concerned, even his own body is a part of the world. He has a perfect objectivity with regard to his own body also. It's a part of the world. So there is a play of matter that is going on. I am the indifferent, unaffected, witnessing consciousness. I am just watching. As though like you are watching the flow of the river. A river is flowing. What are you doing? You are just watching. Who is an ignorant one? Who has jumped into the river. Who is the wise one? He is also watching. He is there on the banks of the river, just watching the flow of the river. Not getting affected by it. He is just watching. It's a very powerful verse, because at the seat of meditation, this is what you have to practice. If you are able to remain as an observer, nothing of the world can affect you. It can never take away your peace of mind. Why are we losing the peace of mind? We forget consciousness. Forgetting consciousness means what? Forgetting God. And then we get involved into the world. World is called samsara. And consciousness is Sakshat Bhagavan. So in the language of bhakti, we say, you have forgotten Bhagavan. Right? All our suffering is because we have forgotten the Lord. And who is the Lord? The consciousness in us. Where is He? Right here, right now. Everyone is experiencing every moment. That consciousness is Bhagavan. So the message of the scripture is never forget the Lord. So now see verse number 29. Prakriter guna sammudaha sajjante guna karmasu. This is the nature of the ignorant people. What is the nature of the ignorant people? Sajjante, they are totally attached. Such people are called Prakriter guna sammudhaha, the ones who are deluded by the gunas of the Prakriti. Means what? Totally identified with the body, mind, intellect. They are totally deluded. Sajjante guna karmasu, they are so attached to the body, they are so attached to the actions of the body. They are not only attached to the instrument, they are also attached to the actions performed by the instrument. So what is the advice given to the wise people? Tan akritsnavidaha mandan kritsnavit na vichalayet. So such people who are deluded, what does Bhagavan call them? Mandan. Unintelligent people, ignorant people, foolish people. Mandan akritsnavidaha, those who don't know the reality. And who is a wise man? Kritsnavit, the knower of the truth, the one who knows everything. Kritsnavit navichalet, may he not disturb him, may he not confuse him. So how should we deal with a person who is ignorant? By the way, what is the proof, or how do we know whether we are ignorant or wise? Based on this discussion. If somebody criticizes you, and if you feel very bad, understand you are ignorant. Why? The criticism will be because of some action of the B or M or I. Yes or no? Some actions you have done of the body, some actions of the mind. Somebody is criticizing. Actually, what is he criticizing? He is criticizing some action of the BMI. And if you are feeling bad, why are you feeling bad? That feeling bad is because of identification. That body is not something else, it is me. So when somebody is criticizing the body, he is actually criticizing me. So therefore I am affected. In the same way, when somebody praises you, if you are elated, understand you are ahankara vimudhatma. This is how we must know ourselves. Am I a wise person or a foolish person? If you are going up and down based on the praise and criticism of the external world, understand you are that ahankara vimudhatma. Because people are praising your BMIs and the actions of the BMIs, guna and karma. They are praising or criticizing something other than you, but because of your attachment, you feel it is against me. It is exactly like a mother and a child. When the child gains first rank, who is happy? The mother is happier than the child. Why? Identification is so strong. Actually speaking, these two entities are totally different. Mother is totally different from the child, but because of identification, mother doesn't feel separate from the child. Anything happening to the child, mother feels it is happening to me. Now this is called as identification. When there is identification, the two entities become one as though. Isn't it? So what is being said here? The wise people, when they are in the society, when they are serving in the society, most of the cases he will be surrounded by all these foolish, ignorant people only. Don't disturb them. Don't disturb them means what? When somebody is doing something good, pat on his back, sabash, very good, you have done excellent thing. Then what happens? This foolish person, he feels very happy. So naturally, he will be doing more and more, better and better things. This is how you have to deal with people. Don't tell them, hey, you are not the doer. You are only a witness. Don't speak all such things. When somebody is doing something good, pat on his back. Encourage him. Inspire him. This is the way. Because you know that this is the weakness. Now, who is a wise person? Wise person know the weakness of the other man. Because he has gone through all those stages. He knows how to press the right nerve to get the right things done. A wise man is a person who never, exploits the weakness of the other person. Wise person is the one who makes use of the weakness of the other person in order to help that person grow, in order to help that person evolve. The weakest person in the society is the egoistic person. He is a slave in the hands of everyone. You can make an egoistic person dance to your tunes. What you have to do? If you want to get something done from him, thoroughly, they say, maska lagana. Right? This is how. You praise him to the sky's limit, and then he will be ready to do anything for you. Give him recognition. Praise him. Never criticize him. That is his weak point. He will get disturbed. So what should the wise people do? Encourage these people to do better and better things, good things, creative things. See, you can make use of the ego in the others in a positive way also. It all depends on how you have to make use of this ego. Ego is a weakness, but in the right hands, the wise man helps the person evolve out of the ego. You can make a person do good things by making use of his ego. But the wise person himself, suppose others are praising him, then what you should do? You should be very alert. As far as the other person is concerned, he can make use of his ego, but when others are praising him or criticizing him, he should remain firm in this truth. When others are praising him, he should know, no, this praise belongs to Bhagavan, not to me. Pass on everything to God, because we know everything is done by God. I am a mere instrument in his hands. This is the path of devotion. As far as path of action, a path of knowledge is concerned, he will say, I am a mute witness, everything Prakriti is doing. Right? So this way the wise people should perform actions and thus encourage everyone to do good actions. Thus, he should inspire others and thus help them evolve spiritually. Now this topic is over. So the entire Karma Yoga is summarized in one verse. The Karma Yoga principles are summarized in one verse, verse number 30. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatajvaraha. Yes. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya, point number 1. Adhyatma chetasa, point number 2. Nirashi, point number 3. Nirmamaha, point number 4. Vigatajvaraha, point number 5. Yudhyasva, point number 6. 6 points to be remembered. So first one, let us take Adhyatma chetasa. Adhyatma chetasa means what? Spiritual minded. Adhyatma chetasa. Adhyatma means spirituality. Something related to the self. Adhi atma, pertaining to the self. Spiritual. So Adhyatma chetasa means being spiritual minded. What does it mean? Action must be performed for what? Not for the results. Which result? Material worldly results. No, actions must be performed for spiritual results. When others are performing action for the outer results, a karma yogi performs action for the inner results. Now remember, without expecting result, nobody can do anything. It is impossible. But when it is said, don't expect results, what it means is, don't expect the external results. As far as a karma yogi is concerned, he has a goal. What is the goal? May my mind be purified. So for the purification of mind, he performs action. For pleasing the Lord, he performs action. For spiritual evolution, he performs action. So there is a purpose for which he is performing action. The real progress is spiritual progress, not the material progress. So therefore, for spiritual evolution, he is functioning. This is the meaning Adhyatma Chetasa. May you be very clear with respect to the intention for which you are performing action. A Karma Yogi's intention is very clear. I am doing it for my own spiritual evolution. The purpose is liberation. Liberation is nothing but knowing oneself. Knowing oneself, how should I know oneself? I should know myself as pure consciousness, different from the body mind. To know this, my mind should be pure, because only in a pure mind this knowledge can take place. So therefore, the purpose of action is purification of mind. Purification of mind will give this knowledge, and this knowledge will liberate me. With this clear understanding, this is the meaning Adhyatma Chetasa. With this intention, then my sarvani karmani sanyasya, renouncing all actions unto me. Who is telling this? Who is telling this? Not the son of Vasudeva, not son of Yashoda or Devaki. No, Mai. Me means what? Sakshat Bhagwan. Who is that Bhagwan? The very consciousness. Performing all actions for my sake. In the language of devotion, performing everything to please God. Actions are done not to please myself, actions are done to please Him. So therefore it's a yajna karma, is an action of sacrifice. I am sacrificing my likes and dislikes, I am doing everything for His pleasure. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya, performing all actions as a worship of the Lord. Nirashihi, without asha. What is asha? Hopes, without desiring the results, material results. He is more interested in the spiritual results. Nirmamaha, even when he is functioning in the world, he knows nothing belongs to me, everything belongs to God. The instruments belong to God, the field belongs to God, the talents and abilities belong to God, nothing belongs to me. This understanding has to be there. Nirmamaha. Vigata jwaraha, free from jwara. What is jwara? Fever. Free from fever. Now what is this fever? This fever is the fever of worries and anxieties. Whenever we do something very important, etc., that anxiety, fear, worry, etc. comes. Naturally, a person who is doing with this attitude, no fear, worry, etc. comes. Worries and anxieties come when you are very much attached to the results. To the extent you insist upon the results, to that extent you will have greater amount of worries and anxieties. I want this only. That only, how strong it is, to that strongly that worry, anxiety, stress, etc. will come. Isn't it? What about a Karma Yogi? Karma Yogi expects results, but he doesn't insist on results. Now please remember this. He expects results. Yes, if you do this much, this is the possible outcome. This is what is going to happen in the future. He plans according to that. There is an expectation, but there is no insistence. What is the difference? When you insist, you say, I want like this only. That is insistence. When there is expectation, you just plan for the future. In the future, this is going to come. But even if it doesn't come, all Bhagavad Ichcha. Prasada buddhi is there. So, Vigata Jwaraha, free from the worries and anxieties. And then, what is the instruction? Arjuna, Yudhyasva, fight. Please understand, Yudhyasva doesn't mean we all should go take weapon and fight. This instruction is given to Arjuna because Arjuna's swadharma is to fight. His duty is to fight. So Yudhyasva has to be understood as what? Let us perform our duties. Let us perform our responsibilities with this spirit of Karma Yoga. People who have not understood Bhagavad Gita, they label Bhagavad Gita as a scripture of violence. Can you believe? Bhagavad Gita is the scripture of violence because it is asking somebody to fight. Whereas our scripture, it is a scripture of non-violence, of love. Now people who don't have any idea about Bhagavad Gita, he may be a Hindu, but he has no idea. He says, yeah, that is true. Krishna was asking Arjuna to fight only. So maybe what he is telling is true. You don't have any idea about Bhagavad Gita. The Hindus who don't have any idea about their own scriptures, they are the greatest. You understand? our scripture we must have thorough understanding. Whatever is said is true, you must be able to argue logically, convincingly. So when Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight, what you have to understand? Perform your duty. Because you are an army man, I am asking you to fight. That doesn't mean Bhagavad Gita is asking everybody to fight. In Bhagavad Gita itself, the values start with ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. Among all the noble virtues, the first virtue is ahimsa. You will find, I think in 13th chapter or something it comes. Ahimsa, sattva samshuddhi, abhayam sattva samshuddhi. So many values are given. One among the values is ahimsa. Bhagavad Gita never asks anyone to fight. So this understanding has to be there. Right. Then what does Bhagavan say? Now the teaching has been given. Now Bhagavan earnestly advises everyone to practice this knowledge. Let us chant 31-32. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto nasuyantaha muchyante tepi karmabhihi ye tvetadabhyasuyantaha nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudhanstan vidhi nashtana cetasa. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha. Those people who nityam, every day, constantly, regularly, anutishtanti, those who practice it. What? Matam. Matam here means teaching. Whatever teaching has been given, those who practice it regularly, every day, lifetime, throughout lifetime, this has to be practiced. How do they practice? Shraddhavantaha anusuyantaha. Shraddhavantaha, with total faith that whatever is said is 100% true. Anusuyantaha, not finding fault. Anasuya. What is asuya? General translation is jealousy. But actually, Bhagavan Shankaracharya beautifully defines asuya as guneshu dosha darshanam. There is something good said and you are finding fault in it. That is called as asuya. Finding fault with something good is asuya. So what is anasuya? Not finding fault. So those people with total faith, with a lot of Shraddha Bhakti, those who practice as much as they can, every day, regularly, muchyante tepi karma bihi, all those people, they will be liberated from karma, they will be liberated from this janma, this samsara bandhana. They will be totally liberated from this birth-death cycle. Those people who practice it regularly. Now see what is said here. Nityam anutishtanti. Not some Sunday church or Friday mosque. Such a thing is not there in Hinduism. Very many people ask, Swamiji, for them they have Sunday, they have this Friday, but for us nothing is needed because every day you have to practice. Every day, every moment you have to practice. That is Hinduism. Not once in a while. So therefore, if you sincerely practice, work hard, then definitely you will be free from all sufferings, all miseries. Putting an end to birth-death cycle means what? Putting an end to all miseries. But yetu etad abhyasuyantaha is a warning. Those people who find fault with this teaching, na anutishtanti me matam, the teaching is given, they don't practice, they ignore this, they disregard this. Such a person, what happens to them? Tan achetasaha. Bhagavan is very angry with them. Such unintelligent fellows, sarva jnana vimudhan nashtan vidhi. Such unintelligent fellows, sarvajnana vibudhan, deluded with respect to all knowledge. Not only spiritual knowledge, they are deluded with respect to every knowledge. Every knowledge means what? 3 types. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. They are deluded with respect to themselves. They will never know who they are. They are deluded with respect to the world. They will go on doing lot of investigation in the world. Nowhere they will reach. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. They will investigate into the very cause of this universe, who is God. In all these three, they will be completely deluded. Whose word this is? Bhagavan's word. And this is exactly what we see in the world also. Anyone who has not taken Vedas as the pramana, as the means of knowledge, all of them are totally deluded. Look at these scientists. They call themselves as the most intelligent people on this planet, but those people, because they don't have the base. What is the base? The Vedic knowledge is the base. And because they don't have it, they are totally deluded. What is the proof of delusion? Today one scientist tells something, next day another scientist tells something else, contradicting the first scientist. This is what is happening. You may be highly intelligent, but if you don't have the guidance of the scriptures, the guidance of the Mahatmas, of the teachers, etc., you are finished. What is said here, you see, Sarvajnana Vimudhan Nashtan Vidhi. Nashtan Vidhi, finished they are. They are finished. Finished means what? Such a wonderful opportunity has been given. They have been given a human birth. With this human birth, what is the greatest benefit? You have been blessed with intelligence. With this intelligence, if it is directed in the right direction, you could have attained immortality. You could have attained infinite bliss, infinite peace. You could have become one with Bhagavan, the very Creator Himself. You could have liberated from this miserable samsara. But then such a wonderful opportunity is lost. Nashtan Vidhi. Throughout your life, you will be wasting time doing all nonsense. That is what he said. So these instructions have to be taken seriously. Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, you have a choice. You may follow this with lot of faith and devotion. You will reach it. Or if you neglect this path, if you neglect this teaching, you are the loser. So this is a message for every one of us. God is not going to lose anything. The teachings are also not going to lose. Who is the loser? We are the loser. If we neglect this knowledge. Now Bhagavan says, Arjuna, this is not a mere intellectual knowledge. It should be put into practice. Let us chant verse number 33. Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritir jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigrahah kim karishyati. Yes, this teaching should not remain as a mere intellectual knowledge. You read some scriptures, you have understood, fine, you have understood. Intellectually you have understood, but you are not putting it into practice. So such a person here in this context is called Jnanavan. He has gathered information, he has listened to satsang, yes, he has understood. But what is Bhagavan saying? Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritehe jnanavan api. Even the person who is well read, his behavior will be according to his prakriti, his nature, his habitual tendencies. What does it mean? For example, I know getting angry is bad, but what to do? I helplessly get angry. Now that I know, that is called Jnanavan. I know it is not good, but anger is not. When that anger comes, I become helpless. That helplessness is called Prakriti, nature. Anger has become my nature. I know it is bad, but I am not able to control myself. I effortlessly become angry. You see that Prakriti there? What does Bhagavan say? Your behavior will not be based on your knowledge. Your behavior will be based on your habits. Now the question is, how is this habit formed? Prakriti means nature. It has as though become my nature. What is nature? Something which effortlessly come out of me is called nature. And how is this nature formed? Constantly, again and again, when you do something, that slowly becomes your nature. Yes or no? Again and again. How are the habits formed? Habits are not formed in one day or 2 days. No. When again and again, you keep on doing it slowly, that becomes a habit. Anything. So then that becomes a Prakriti. Prakriti means what? Nature of a person. Nature of a person means what? Without that person, you can't think of that person. Or this person, he is like this. That he is like this means what? That is his nature, isn't it? And how is that nature formed? Because of constant repetition of certain tendencies, certain thoughts, certain actions. So what is Bhagavan saying? Prakritim yanti bhutani. A being, a person, he behaves according to his prakriti. Nigraha kim karishyati kaha. What can suppression do? Suppression is not the solution. How to break away from our habits? Just by gathering knowledge from the scriptures will not do. You have to work on it. Bhagavan, how should I work on it? Next verse. Verse number 34. Indriyasyendriyasyarthe ragadveshau vyavasthitau ayornavashamagachet tauhyasya paripanthinau. So another new topic starts. How to break ourselves from our old habits. Whatever be the habit, how much ever negative it may be, intense it may be, there is a way to come out of it. What is that way? This verse gives the answer. In detail, we will see tomorrow. Om Sarve Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Amritam Gat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.